Water. Learning about water and its uses. Back to the oceans. Almost all land surfaces are above the sea level of oceans. Most of the water that falls on the land as rain and snow sooner or later goes back to the oceans. This happens in many ways. Snow in the mountains melts into water. This water flows down the mountains in the form of streams and rivers. Some of the water that falls on land as rain also flows in the form of rivers and streams. Most of the rivers cover long distances on land and ultimately fall into a sea or an ocean. The rainwater also fills up the lakes and ponds. A part of the rainwater gets absorbed by the ground and seems to disappear in the soil. The rest seeps into the ground. Most of this water becomes available to us as groundwater. Open wells are fed by groundwater. Groundwater is the source of many lakes as well. It is also this groundwater which is drawn by a hand pump or a tube well. In those areas where the land has little or no vegetation, the rainwater flows away quickly. Flowing rainwater also takes the top layer of the soil away with it. There are few areas where most of the land is covered with concrete. This reduces the seepage of rainwater into the ground, which ultimately affects the availability of groundwater. We now know that water brought back to the surface of the earth by rain, hail, or snow goes back to oceans. Thus, water from the ocean and surface of the earth goes into air as vapor, returns as rain, hail, or snow, and finally goes back to the oceans. The circulation of water in this manner is known as the water cycle. What if it rains heavily? The time, duration, and amount of rainfall varies from place to place. In some parts of the world, it rains throughout the year, while there are places where it rains only for a few days. In our country, most of the rainfall occurs during the monsoon season. Rains bring relief, especially after hot summer days. The sowing of many crops depends on the arrival of monsoon. However, excess of rainfall may lead to many problems. Heavy rains may lead to rise in the level of water in rivers, lakes, and ponds. The water may then spread over large areas, causing flood. The crop fields, forests, villages, and cities may get submerged by water. In our country, floods cause extensive damage to crops, human life, property, and domestic animals. During floods, the animals living in the water also get carried away with the waters. They often get trapped on land areas and die when flood water recedes. What happens if it does not rain for a long period? Can you imagine what would happen if it does not rain in a region for a year or more? The soil continues to lose water by evaporation and transpiration. Since it is not being brought back by rain, the soil becomes dry. The level of water in ponds and wells of the region goes down, and some of them may even dry up. The groundwater may also become scarce. This may lead to drought. In drought conditions, it is difficult to get food and fodder. Water conservation. Some ways by which we can conserve water are as follows: avoiding wastage of water, recycling water whatever possible. Example in factories. Planting trees and other vegetation. Reducing water pollution by treating sewage and factory wastes before disposing them. Control flooding and storage of water by building dams. By rainwater harvesting, which consists of directing rainwater to deep holes in the ground to replenish groundwater instead of letting it run off. Rainwater harvesting. One way of increasing the availability of water is to collect rainwater and store it for later use. Collecting rainwater in this way is called rainwater harvesting. The basic idea behind rainwater harvesting is catch water where it falls. Rooftop rainwater harvesting. In this system, the rainwater is collected from the rooftop to a storage tank through pipes. Arrange one additional pipe and leave it directly into a pit in the ground. This then seeps into the soil to recharge or refill the groundwater. Summary: excessive rains may cause floods, while lack of it for long periods may cause droughts. The amount of usable water on earth is limited, so it needs to be used carefully. That is all in this lesson. Save water as it is very precious.